So first of all, I'd like to welcome you all. This is Bob Coppage with Simplex IT. Patty Smirk, who handles the project management practice here at Simplex IT, she'll be joining us again in a second once her reboot is finished. But I'd like to welcome you. I think this is actually our fifth webinar on project management, and actually this is the first one where we've had issues, technical issues up front. So 4 out of 5, I guess, isn't bad. In any case, we're going to be talking about using project sites, project workspaces. So we'll be talking about that and getting started in a moment. Just to show you that we got to go through the standard, what we call the NASCAR slide. We actually just found out we won in the top 100 again in 2015. So this is actually a little bit out of date. Yay, we're wonderful. Our primary focus here at Simplex IT is we are the IT department for small, medium businesses, or we work with the IT departments of small, medium businesses. The two practices, of course, that we've added, Simplex DBA and Simplex PM. Simplex PM is what we're talking about here today, where we actually, and it's a little bit different from your traditional project management consulting group, but essentially we mentor and we work with organizations who are implementing project management practices with a lot of focus on Microsoft project opening or offerings, whether it be using the desktop project version or the project server, or as is most often these days, the project online, which is a component of Office 365. There's some really cool stuff there. Let's see. And then we've got what's going on. We actually do 4 of these events each month. 3 of them are webinars, and 1 is an in-person luncheonar. And in the near future, Patty, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Yay, she's back.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. I had to make up a lot of stuff, but
I figured.
In any case, these are our 4 events that are coming up. We've got Turning Data into Information. That's going to be Doug and I on that on the 28th. And then next month we go with our Office webinar, and followed by, and actually Patty and I will be teaming up at the luncheonar on May 20th, showing project management using Office 365. So we're going to be going into the online. So if you've ever been at our luncheonars, you actually get fed at that one as opposed to here where you're on your own for food. And then the day after that, because you can't get too much project management. That's what I always say. Actually, I don't. Then we've got talking about updating your project schedule and why. So take advantage of those, and those are always they're always free. You've just gone through as much advertising as we do on this, and we are recording this meeting, so we'll be pushing it up on YouTube, within the next couple of days. And Patty, are you ready to take over with your screen and all that?
I sure am.
Golly gee, Ned, then I am going to be quiet. And folks, if you have a question, use the chat window and type it in, and either Patty or I will help you. So Patty, I'm turning it over to you now.
Great, thanks, Bob.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And Bob, can you see my project web app homepage okay?
It is loading. I may be seeing your other screen.
Okay.
So I'm seeing your conversation in the link web app.
How about now?
Yepers.
Okay. I had to make some quick changes there when I was having technical difficulties with my other laptop, so I apologize. It might be a little bit clunky here. But welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm sure Bob welcomed you all, but let me do the same. Today we're going to talk a little bit about project sites. So I know that we've talked in the past about Microsoft Project and Project Online and how great those tools are for managing your project schedule. And they are fantastic for managing your project schedule, but as you know, there's a lot more aspects of project management than just the project schedule. So that's what we'll talk about today. I have a nice little analogy that a friend of mine shared with me, and she says that the project schedule itself is sort of like your house, And the project site is like your shed or your garage where you keep all the extra stuff that you need. Maybe not on a daily basis, but things that you need and depend on. So very much, I think, an accurate comparison with project sites. So to get to project sites, I'm just starting off here on my homepage, and I'm just going to go right into projects. So if you've been with me before on some of these other webinars, you know that we're very familiar with Project Web App by now. This Project Center view shows us the list of all of our projects that we have, and this is just sort of my demo site, so I apologize if it's a little lean. But I have some sample projects here. And again, just as an oversight, this shows me all of the projects in my company, when they start, when they finish, you know, the progress, how far along they are, what the cost is. There's some other good information here as well. But the focus of today is to talk about the project sites. So I've created a project with a corresponding project site. So I'm going to click on that here, and that'll take me into my project with my project site. So just for a little bit of background, most of your projects, when you put them on Project Web App or your project server, if you're using an on-premise solution, when you publish that project, it'll ask you if you want to create a project site. And at that time, you can say yes or no. If you say yes, you won't ever be bothered again. If you say no, it'll ask you every time you publish until you either say yes or until you click the little checkbox that says, don't ask me about this again. So here is my project schedule. Now again, I just clicked on the project. So this is my project schedule, very familiar, I'm sure, from the other webinars that you've sat in on. But instead of just looking at the project schedule, we're going to go into the project site. So each project has a corresponding site or has the capability of having a corresponding site. And here's my corresponding site for my webinar example. So as you can see, it's very similar to SharePoint if you've worked with SharePoint at all. Here I can see, here I can see my task list, but more importantly, I can see some of the other aspects with my project. So for example, I have a news feed. This is where I would start conversations about my project. I may throw questions out there to my project team, you know, hey, has anybody heard of this technology? Or what do you think about this date for a team outing? These are just conversational in nature, but they are archived, so they're nice to have for historical purposes. Over on the right-hand side, I've added a few web parts here. I like to have my queued jobs. I think it's just from my days as an administrator. But I like to be able to see when my jobs have started and stopped, mainly just to ensure that my jobs have published successfully. So like I mentioned, when you're making changes to a project schedule, you have to save and publish in order for the Project Web App page to refresh. So here just shows me that, yes, my project did check in and it was successful. Below that, I've added a web part for documents. This is really great for project management because usually, a lot of projects I've been on, it's hard to keep everything in one place. And I hate that term one-stop shop, but this truly is. So here in my project sites, I can keep track of all the documents related to this project. So I've added a couple just so that you can see what it looks like. But here I can have a couple, looks like a couple pictures, a couple photos I have here. I have an Excel document and a Word document. So these can be anything. I like to say that they have to relate to the project, only because I like to keep things sort of in a nice little project container. I guess they don't have to relate to the project. A lot of folks use these sites as team sites and team collaboration areas, regardless of which project they're on, and you can do that as well. But I like to keep them just focused on the project so that when I'm on the project, I know everything in my documents list relates to the project. In the past, I've stored things like contractor invoices, proposals, silly things like phone lists, things like that. So anything related to the project. Another nice thing about these project sites is that we have an area to store other project information, such as risks, issues, and deliverables. So you'll notice over on the left-hand side, I have a quick launch toolbar, very similar to what I have in the project, just in the project center. But here, I can actually open up my project notebook. I can look at all the documents, which are going to be the same as this document here. I can look at the tasks for my project. I can look at a calendar view. Let's click on calendar view just to show you what it looks like. Here's a list of, here's a view of my calendar for this project. Now you'll notice that the tasks that I have in my project schedule don't appear in this calendar. If you wanted to see that, then you can do that in Project Online, or you can do that in Microsoft Project through their calendar view. This is a separate calendar, more for those, I consider them sort of the overarching project dates. You know, if I had a team outing, something like that would go here. Very important things like tax day and our project management webinar would go here as well. But just to show you, how about if we skip down to risks? So one of the most important things I think in project management is risk management. So a lot of people don't like to spend time thinking about risks because it's kind of scary. And we like to think that our project will go off without a hitch and that there's no chance that anything could possibly delay our schedule or increase our budget. But obviously, we're all good project managers, so we know the difference there. So this place in our project sites allows us to track and manage our risks. And I've added a couple here for our example. But just to kind of show you a little bit of detail, each one of these risks are added to my risk list or risk repository, if you will. And I can open up the risk and you can see all the details that I've added. The nice thing about these risks is that not only can I track all your typical risk management information like the probability, impact, exposure, but also I can add a description, a mitigation plan, a contingency plan. And what I really like about it is I can make an assignment. So here, I'm still the owner of this risk, but I've assigned it to Bob for him to manage and oversee. So if that risk becomes an issue, it's Bob's responsibility to address that. There's different alerts that you can set here as well. So there's triggers of what could trigger that risk to happen. You can also set alerts, so you can notify your team members when they've had a new risk assigned to them. And assign any related items. So if there are, maybe there's a risk that something will malfunction, and so you may want to attach a user guide or FAQ to this risk, addressing what to do if it malfunctions. The other item that's very similar to risks are issues. Okay, so issues are basically anything that's come up. Oftentimes it could be a risk that got promoted to an issue, or it's just an issue, maybe it was an unknown risk. You know, things come up all the time. We do have unknowns in projects all the time. So here's our list of issues. These, I think, are very important to track. When you get to the end of your project and you work on your project closeout, inevitably there is going to be variances within your project schedule. Things took longer, things took less time. Most of the time, unfortunately, it's the first where, you know, your tasks take a little bit longer. So this list of issues becomes very valuable in that project closeout so that you can see exactly what happened throughout your project. Some people will say, well, you know, I'll remember, I'll know, but I know I won't remember. So I like to have my list of issues here. It's very nice so I can see my issues throughout the project. Also, if you're on a very large project, you will have things that come up all the time that just chip away at your project schedule. So if you're on a large project that takes maybe 18 months, 2 years, it's going to be hard to remember what happened way back in the first couple of months. That's why these issues are so important. But I'll get off my soapbox on why issue tracking is so important and show you what the example of what some of the details of our risks look like. So here you can see the title. These are very, very similar to risks in regards to project sites. So here you can see I have an example of an issue. This one Bob owns, but it's been assigned to me. I can see the status, it's active. Categories and statuses and priority for that matter, but pretty much categories are customizable. So you can have categories. I've seen them maybe an upgrade category or operations might be a category. You may want to create categories as they align to your business. So however it relates to your project or to your business, you can categorize these issues. Right? And again, very similar, you have a date that it might be due, discussion, resolution, and if there's any related items, just like you saw with risks. The other item that I think is important with project sites are deliverables. So deliverables are actually the product of a task or group of tasks. This is really nice, especially when your deliverables are something electronic that you can track right in your project site. So if your deliverable is like this first one, draft manual, once that manual is drafted, you can attach it and store it here in the project site so that everybody has one place to go for this file. It really reduces the amount of emails that go back and forth, the replies all that go back and forth, and it just gives everybody on your project team or your organization one place to look for all the deliverables. Another nice thing about project sites, over on the left in the quick launch, you can modify this list of links. So here I've added a hyperlink to one of my favorite organizations, PMI. It's just the Project Management Institute. So you can create links to either resources for your project, other areas within your organization, wherever you may think that you may want a handy link there. It's kind of nice because it's right on the side with your other project links. The other thing that we didn't look at was the project notebook, or just notebook. I'm going to click on this and show you what it looks like. It's basically a OneNote notebook, but a lot of project managers, I know I always keep track of notes, whether they're status meetings or my kickoff notes or what have you. And I was using project sites, I've used them for years, and I always used to put my project notes in Word documents, and then I would upload them to the project site, and I would have, at the end of the project, 50 different Word documents to look through. And that was fine, but that was before OneNote became so easy and popular to use. So now I really like OneNote. One of the nice things I like about OneNote is the fact that you can search. So if you have a project notebook, and you know that at some project meeting you discussed, ABC topic, you can search for ABC, and it'll search for you. It's really nice. It even has, you can store pictures and charts and graphics and different file types within your notebook. But here you can see that I've added these notes, and hypothetically, these are notes from my different status meetings. But this is typically how I do it with project management or project, where I like to have a project notebook where I'll do different sections or different pages for each status meeting. And then sometimes I'll do one, like I said, for a kickoff, or if anything significant happens, what have you. So I think that's really neat that it's incorporated so seamlessly with the project sites. Oh, let's see. What else can we talk about? We talked about how to get to your project sites from the Project Center. So again, from the Project Center, right where I start, I would click on the webinar, which is my project that has this site associated with it. And you'll notice I have a couple different places I can go once I'm in this project. So I can go to my schedule. I can go to project details, which shows me just my basic information, or I can go to my project site. The other nice thing about this project site is that you can add and remove web parts to this page. And just to show you very quickly what some of your options are, I showed you earlier that I chose to add my queued jobs, and I like to have documents, I like to have a news feed, but there's quite a few more that I can add. I'll just click on this top one here to add a new web part. You can see the different categories of what's available. So here, just so you can see what's available, I can add my calendar view if I wanted to, my deliverables, which we looked at, documents we looked at, issues, the different news feeds. But also if you had a blog, you could add blog parts as well, business data, information about the community, what's happening. Let's see, there's one that I wanted to show you in particular down here, which is Project Web App. So Project Web App, remember, is the Project Online collaboration site. So here, if you wanted to add pieces of Project Web App to your project sites, you can. So if you want to work mainly just in project sites, you can do that as well. In addition to risks and issues, maybe you may want to add the Approval Center or the My Tasks view. So these are all very easy to add. If I wanted to add a view, I could click on a view. I'm sorry, not a view, a web part, and click Add. And I'm just going to stop editing the page. Oh, I guess I don't have any tasks assigned to myself in this project, but if I did, I would see them listed here. So I just wanted to show that to you. There's a lot of different customizing you can do here, and you may find that every project that you have will be different. Some projects you may want to have a calendar view, and some projects you may not. So that's the nice thing about project sites and SharePoint in general, that can be customized for every project. Okay, so I know we got off to a late start, and I apologize for that, but we're about ready to wrap up. Do we have any questions on the line? I can't see my chat. So Bob, did anybody send any questions through to the chat?
Not yet, but we may have someone typing. Oh, we got a couple people typing.
Oh, wonderful. And just as everybody's typing, let me say that the project sites isn't anything extra, or it's not an add-on or a separate purchase that you have to make. It's part of Project Online. Just like if you have Project Server and SharePoint, it's part of the Project Server SharePoint install as well. So take advantage of it.
Yeah, Scott, I see your question about whether project portion is included in 365. It is not. It is part of the overall 365 program, but it's kind of like Visio for 365. It is a way that you can it's a way that you can basically use the same subscription model, and this is essentially Project Server in the cloud. So you can either, there's three components. There is Project, which is literally just the desktop product itself. There is Project Online, which is more or less the Project Server component plus and Patty can answer this better than I can, kind of an online version of Project, as well as the SharePoint component that Patty's showing. And then there's what's called Project Lite, which is more or less where how resources can enter their updates to how they're working on the project. Ken, you have the question about where you don't often have internet access. Yeah, no problem, Scott. The cost of the software to host the full project and project sites. Ken, are you talking about where you would actually have one location that has the server there, or are you talking about having it where you have different project managers at different remote sites? Okay, you would host the software on the Mac Mini, bring a location. So if you have a Project Server itself, which gives you some of this functionality, is actually a pretty expensive product. Not only do you require the Project Server software itself, but you'd also require the SharePoint licensing, the SQL licensing, the Windows Server licensing, all that good and fun stuff. What I would actually look to do, so you can have the actual project software on the desktop itself, but Patty, correct me, I don't think you have a lot of this functionality with just the desktop product. Is that correct?
That's correct, not this extra functionality. But with the desktop product, like let's say that you had construction managers that were at a construction site all the time and they didn't have access to the internet or your network, they could still make changes in their project schedule on their laptops, and then when they do log into the network, those would be synced up, but they wouldn't have the project site capabilities when they're offline.
Ken, does that help? The other thing is, keep in mind that you're getting more and more tools that are available that have yeah, OneNote is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you also have, whether it be the built-in MiFi capabilities or the like, the actual connectivity you need for a lot of this stuff is pretty thin, since the data is actually stored up in the cloud. Okay, can we update locally, then upload once we get outside the building? Is Ken's question.
Oh, yes, to the project schedule, yes, you can. And actually, it's a seamless, it happens behind the scenes. You don't need to do any kind of, download, make changes, and then upload sort of thing. Project Online stores a version that's sort of invisible to you, but just a cached version on your computer. And then when that network connection is back, it syncs up those changes. But again, that's just for the project schedule. It's just if you have Microsoft Project installed on your computer. If you're using the Project Online or the project sites, anything, I guess a good rule of thumb is anything that you access through a URL, you won't really have the capabilities to do anything when you don't have a connection to the network. So like Microsoft Project, you can open it up, you can work on files in Microsoft Project without having a network connection, and then they would automatically sync up.
Ken, you're asking about the cost of the software. If we are talking about, and I'm bringing it up right now, if we are talking about the Project Online subscriptions, and let me just, I want to say you're talking about for the 365 subscriptions to Project itself, which is the desktop only. That I want to say is somewhere around $25 per month per user. To add the Project Online capabilities, you're talking somewhere closer to 50-some or 60-some dollars per user. And then, as I recall, the Project Lite is somewhere around $7 to $10 per month per user.
Right. Yeah, that's where I think organizations can really save a lot of money, because before Project Lite came around, and I'm sorry to get on my soapbox here, but before we had Project Lite, you had to give everybody a copy of Microsoft Project in order for them to be able to view the project schedule information, or you had to PDF it and email it all around, and who wants to do that? So if you're thinking about going to this solution, really think about who's going to need to make changes to the project schedule. If somebody's going to be adding tasks, moving things around, if they're truly the project manager or the project scheduler, they probably need Microsoft Project installed on their computer. If there's somebody that's going to act as a backup, or they might be working on some small projects, they may be able to get away with just Project Online. If it's somebody that only needs to make changes to their tasks, so I'm a resource, I'm a programmer, I'm a heck of a good programmer, I get tasks assigned to me, I can view all my tasks, and then I can enter the status of those tasks and send them back to my project manager. Those people only need Project Lite. So you can really save a lot of money by kind of thinking about, okay, how, who are my resources, who's going to be using this, what are their roles, and if you want to talk any more about that offline, we can certainly sit down and go through what some of the scenarios are for that.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where it's kind of like when you look at SharePoint or some of the other tools, you look at the product and you go, wow, it only costs X number of dollars because there's the licensing costs or there's the whatever. You really need to take a look. There's absolutely some configuration and some implementation in terms of best practices and the like. And that's something, and that literally is exactly what we're looking to do here at Simplex PM. This is like I said, this is our 5th monthly webinar that we've done. And so we're absolutely committed, as we are in our other practices and the like, we want to educate our customers and our potential customers. So we're not all about we want to make the sale and all that. We're about we want to make sure that you're educated and you know what your options are. So Ken, I'd like to not to turn this into a sales pitch, but love to arrange for you and Patty to just talk and discuss about what the options are and what the different versions are and the pluses and the minuses. And again, this is as arm twisting as we get regarding our services and the like.
Yeah, it's a little I don't want to say it's confusing, but I think getting, and another phrase I hate is getting the biggest bang for your buck. I hate that, but getting the largest ROI, really looking at who needs what and how many people can get away with that project license, because like I said, those are only $7, $8, $9, and that gives a lot of capabilities to the average team member, the people working on your project. So unless you're creating projects and manipulating those projects, you can probably get away with that cheaper license.
Yeah, I just threw a link over to one of our earlier webinars, which was an introduction to Project Online. That might be helpful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you want to give anything away?
Great. I do want to give something away. I want to give away a copy of Windows.
Yeah.
So usually in the past we've done it where we will give a copy of Windows or Office away to the first person that asks a question. So who was that, Bob?
Let's see. Actually, it was Scott Clark.
All right. Well, congratulations, Scott. You got yourself a copy of Windows 8.1.
Yay.
Bob, I'm assuming you have his email address and we can coordinate offline on how to best deliver that to him.
Yepers.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Bob, if you don't have anything else.
I got nothing.
All right, great. Well, thanks everyone so much for joining us. And certainly if you have any questions or want to continue this conversation, don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us directly.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.